Hi everybody, this is the video recap of our drawing class, second drawing class, Drawing from Nature. So we're going to do a quick recap of the building blocks of drawing that we covered in class today, as well as some drawing techniques to draw a cecropia moth, a columbine flower, and bonus, one of the students asks for some tips on how to draw a fern. So I'm going to be looking at that as well. Here we go. We are starting today with a picture of a cecropia moth. Of course, if it's warm where you are and you can find, take your own photos or find your own outdoor inspiration, I totally recommend that. But here in Eastern Canada, it's November and it's cold. So I'm gonna go ahead with my gesture, which is loose and light. And I'm starting with the body of the moth. So the bottom part, then I'm doing like a circle shape for the upper part of the moth body, and then we've got like the little head, the antenna. So if you remember, we talked about gesture drawing and how it's very light and loose and definitely not final. For media purposes, I'm doing it a bit darker, but the lines are going to be erased in the end. So this is my first step. One of the students was saying, I'm a beginner and you don't really show me how to start. I want to know how to start the drawing. So I do think it's individual, but I'm happy to share how I do it. So I did the bottom half of the body, top half of the body, little head, the feet. Then I'm going to do the right wing. And again, loose, it's really just about kind of laying out where you think everything is gonna go. Of course, we're gonna check the proportions after. So yes, please follow along with the image that I provided, or you could just follow along directly in the tutorial. I'm gonna put this here so you can see it better. My lighting is not great today, but I'm gonna fix that, you guys, for next class. So now I'm going into the second wing. And so obviously we're working with symmetry here. So really the two sides are nearly identical. We did have some really amazing drawings from the students this morning. I really encourage you to share with us if you do have some drawings that you've been working on. It's just encouraging for everyone. It's lovely to see the progress, and some people said they sort of tapped into skills they didn't know they had, so that's quite exciting. So yes, gesture drawing, it's really going to help unlock some beautiful drawing because it's kind of laying the scene for more confident line work and eventually color. So feel free to pause at any moment and just kind of rewind. Just kind of sketching it in. And you guys, you just please let me know if you're having trouble. I'm here to answer your questions and concern, and we are in session until mid-December, so I can totally customize some of the content for you guys. Those of you that are already registered, if you're not registered but would like to be, you can just send me a little message. Or if you want to sign up for the future class, because we're going to be doing this class again in the late spring. So don't hesitate to use your eraser. Okay, so guys, I have a basic shape laid out. Now we're going to do proportion. So I'm going to check my proportion. I'm going to check with lines. I'm going to make sure that it's lining up where it should be. And that's going to allow me to correct my loose drawing. Guys, I just wanted to give you a little tip about proportion. When you're drawing, you can look at what you're drawing, measure it. If it's far away, put your pencil down and use that as a measurement. So different heights. Okay. I have a bit of a better understanding of how the shape is supposed to go. It's better. I mean, put in as much time as you want. I think you'll find that the more time you spend, the more you feel satisfied, but depends on the person. It is good to kind of nail these steps quickly, because as we move our drawing practice to the outside, we don't have as much time to capture a live animal. So it's good to remember we've got one gesture, 2 proportion, 3 is going to be negative space. So this is the space around the object. So if you're looking at the shape, you're thinking, this is what I'm drawing. But if you reverse your perspective and you say, well, no, actually I'm drawing the background, I'm going to see how the edge connects with that middle shape, and it's going to help me to properly get those little areas. Like a little V here, there's a little V. Think about this as a shape. There's a little V. Obviously, this is still gestural, not final. Still structure. Bottom here too, I want to get the negative space. And this is an important consideration, the negative space. I think I'm going to do another segment where I just do one exercise on negative space. Just so we can nail that skill together. It's really helpful for drawing trees or anything that has like little holes and spaces inside. Just kind of drawing the reverse. Okay, pretty happy with this as it currently stands. Okay. So next I'm going to look at my 3D shapes. This is just an important thing to notice before we start doing line work. What is the actual 3D shape of what I'm drawing? In this case, it's pretty flat because we've got, these flat wings, but there is a little bit of kind of relief, especially with the body. So think about the shape that you're drawing. In this case, I'm drawing the body is like a cone, and then it's like a kind of ball on top. So some things are going to look like cylinders, you know, some rocks can even be like cube, all kinds of things. So it's important to just create some guidelines for yourself of the roundedness of the shapes or the angles. It's going to help you when you're doing your line work, because the lines across body are not going to be flat. And same for here, it's kind of going in. It doesn't just go flat across. That's going to help you with your shading as well. So it's generally pretty flat. The little arms as well are like putting a little contour. And that's another exercise I like to do with you, is to work on sculpting as you draw. Another building block of drawing. Getting a sense of the 3D shape before you even do the shading. Okay. See, there's an overlap here. It goes over. Okay, I hope that's helpful. The next part is contour, my favorite part. So in this case, I'm going to use a 4B. As I mentioned, this is an HB pencil. I'm going to use a 4B pencil. It's going to be a little bit darker. And that's also, you could also use a like fine tip pen if you wanted, and then erase your whole drawing after. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and use this. And just as a review, the kind of lines that we're looking at. So there's so many types of lines, and you really have to find the style that works for you. Like there's the bold lines, there's the broken lines, also like totally valid. There's, you know, fine. And there's like the alternating pressure line, which I like absolutely love. That's what I'm going to be using. But, you know, feel free to experiment and just figure out what works for you. When you're doing line work, you can really put a light pressure on the areas that are more illuminated. And then we can go in and press harder in the areas that are in shadow. So it's going to give our object a sense of relief without shading it, which we're going to be covering in the next week. So just for the people who wanted more step-by-step, so as you know, I started building from the center out to the right and to the left. This is just my process. You know, you could start with a different place if that feels more comfortable for you. And I'm kind of doing the same thing now with my line work. So I'm starting in the middle, and I always go right. I think it's because I'm right-handed. I always go right, and then I go like around. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Obviously, this is just for, you know, education purposes. You don't have to follow this. As long as you're getting these right, I think you're going to be totally fine. Usually I go once around, like just doing the basic lines. And then I'm going to go in a bit more detail after doing the inner lines. So that's how I do it. So here, now I have this shape, but it's not the actual, like his antennas are not leaves, right? So they're actually made up of little lines that are inside that leaf shape. And this kind of relates to fern drawing, because we're going to do the same thing for ferns, is we're going to create like a little container for it, and then we're going to do the inner lines to keep the overall shape. Cutie pie. So obviously this is a recap. We went more in depth into the live. And I think we spent about 40 minutes on the drawing in total. Just make sure you look more than you draw. Spend a little time looking at it. Because you're going to find that what your brain tells you is there, that's more like the logic part of the brain. We need to kind of override that with just the more visual part of the brain. That's just more about present moment awareness and how the kind of parts fit into the whole beautifully. Don't be afraid to erase. Hey, honestly, there's so many gesture lines, it looks like I'm already building shading, even though I haven't started that part of the tutorial. Guys, I'm really looking forward to doing outdoor drawing. It is such an amazing experience to be surrounded by nature in the forest or in a field, in a garden, in a park, and just observing, taking in all that beauty and fresh air and color. And I think this is a good time of year to just practice the building blocks so that when the weather's a bit warmer, you can get out there and practice these steps and see what you come up with. And don't ever hesitate to reach out and show me your progress, even if the class is over. I love to stay in touch with students and support you on your artistic journey. Cool. Again. Okay. So this is my step-by-step for the moth for this week. We're still just working on line work, contour lines. That's as far as we're getting today. There is going to be a class on shading next week. In a nutshell, if you want to think about next week ahead of time, we're going to be learning how to apply different pressure to do different shades of gray over our drawing. We're also going to be learning how to create a shaded ground that we can then erase into which is going to be super fun. So join me for next week. Good. I'm also going to cover the columbine flower in this tutorial, and it's going to be with the same steps. Hey guys, so this is the columbine flower that is in our shared drive. You have a color version, which can be really inspiring. I'm just starting in the middle, roughly sketching the center, the shape of that big shape there, and then a little bit smaller here, just to remember where the center of the flower is. Then I'm going to be extending lines outward. So the lines always have to connect back to that, like imaginary center. Okay, it's really important to work with a center. Otherwise you might end up with a flower that's kind of more like, I don't know, puffy, I guess. So we're doing gesture again, so don't take your lines too seriously. They're just loose and just have fun with it. Just have fun. Okay. Now, I'm going to draw a line up, and I'm going to pull the line down. Just remember, we're just doing loose. And I'm going to do the same here. Same for here. So I'm just getting a sense of the shape as I want it to be. I'm going to move on to proportion. In this case, I'm going to draw like a point and a connection to each tip, creating like a kind of pentagon. It's a bit sideways, but that's okay. Just to get a sense of, like, am I getting the right distance between things? Same for my middle flower. Just gonna put some lines in between. Make sure I've got a kind of like symmetrical shape. It's not too like lopsided. Yeah, the center's not working for me, so I'm just gonna start loosely, just kind of sketching out those elements. Just loose. And guys, no one's ever born learning how to draw, so it's just really about practice. I feel like a lifelong learner. I'm on a journey as well. Just start wherever you're at, pick up your pencil, and get drawing. You're always going to improve, that's for sure. Okay, I'm liking this proportions. I feel like there's a good ratio here. So we've nailed the gesture, we've done proportion. Now we're gonna just block out shapes. It's pretty flat, but it's kind of helpful to figure out, are things curving in, are they curving out? Like these flower shapes are they're a bit curved. It's kind of helpful to know. Draw those lines. They're not on the drawing. The lines are not on the object, but they're more like sculpting lines that will help you just figure out like which way things go, like what's under, what's over. And these are kind of like little spherical. And there's like a kind of a cone here. Cool. Now I'm gonna go to, did we talk about negative shape? I feel like I might have forgotten that step. Negative shape, we're just gonna clean up the outside by looking at drawing this area. And if I was not drawing this, but I was drawing the area around it, you know, how would that, those little corners, how would they look like? I am doing it a bit bolder, and I usually go clockwise. That's just how I do things. Someone was asking me for more like precise step by step. I do think that the steps are important, but the direction and way that you draw, as long as you have a center established, I think it's really up to you. Just gonna look at the corner here. Okay. You know, we've got multiple shapes actually. We've got the center, and we've got this light shape and the darker shape. So you can kind of apply this again to the white shape. Let's say you're drawing only this. So like, what is the spacing of those lines? You know, think about it. Okay, I'm going to do one last exercise of negative shape, of like drawing the shape around all of these white or light colored, just kind of observing like those little mini triangles and holes. So I'm drawing the negative shape here. I'm going to see that I made a lot of like guesses when I was doing the gesture. And now it's time to kind of like clean that up. I started drawing a positive shape again, so it's important to just switch your brain, tell your brain to draw the space around the white, like the light shape, not the actual shape itself. Okay. I'm okay with this. I am almost ready to go into line work. So I'm going to go ahead with my dark pencil. I mean, it's already pretty dark because I'm doing media, but actually let me use a pen. If you have a pen, I'm going to be using a liner. It's a 0.5 liner. It's water resistant, which means that if I want to erase this after it's traced, I can actually like paint on it. That will be a further step that we can cover in class of like where does the next step for your drawing. I'm going to start on the right, upper right, because I'm right-handed. I like that. Just going to gently, I'm still going to try to use that kind of like thick and thin approach. Mostly focusing on contour, but I could do a couple internal lines as well. I'm going to go around. Got my outer shape. I'm going to go in and I'm going to work on the inner shape. It's going to take a bit of time. I'm going to just follow the areas that I worked on during my negative shape drawing. Small little cutaways and little areas. And usually as you do contour, you're going to see like a lot of new bumps and shapes that you hadn't really noticed when you're going faster. So, you know, take your time and, you know, feel free to just draw over your drawing. You don't have to like make it identical. You really don't. It's just kind of like guidelines that are meant to give you that confidence to just put the final mark down. This is so fun because it's really about how the parts fit together. I'm not even feel like I'm drawing a flower anymore. It just feels abstract. Don't forget to breathe. especially if you're drawing with ink. Happy with this. I'm not going to shade, but I'm going to draw a couple lines just to differentiate the middle and the back. Just coming out from the middle. So this is where I'm going to stop for this flower. I am going to go ahead, just make sure it's dry, and erase my guidelines. And this would be a great first step for a watercolor painting. I'll leave it there for today, guys. I'll have a bonus session up soon about the fern. Ciao, ciao.